So hi, hello everyone again. Microbehunter here, all over here. I hope again that all of the technology works and that you're able to hear me properly. I did change the settings around a little bit so you can see that there is also now a chat box above my head here so that you're able to see the messages and the questions a little bit more easily, but of course there's also the chat box on the side of the video. Well, today I want to put a few things under the microscope, under the compound microscope, as a matter of fact, things that you normally probably would not put under the compound microscope because, as you can see over here, they are really not in the correct size and format to be observed. But indeed, today I would like to put them anyway under the microscope with light coming from the top. Okay, so we're going to be doing a little bit of microscopy with light coming from the top. Now you're going to say, well, how is this possible? How can you have light coming from the top? And it is possible because I included a flashlight. I'm going to switch over. Here everything is still black here, but over here on the side you can see this here is a flashlight. Okay, and this basically means that when I put objects on the slide here, then we're able to observe them with light coming from the top. And what I've done here today is I've chosen a few objects and we're gonna put them under the microscope. Now, if you have any questions about anything, of course, please post them. If the questions are not related to this very topic, please post them anyway. I'm going to then later on respond. Okay, so there are no complaints that there is an audio problem. So I assume that everything is fine. Okay, so hello from all over the world. Yeah. So what we're going to do first is the following. I want to do a little bit of lab work. I want to, before I put them under the microscope, the first thing I want to do is I want to put some sand under the microscope, and I have a slide here with sand on the surface. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I made this slide. Okay, it's actually quite simple. And I have some sand here. This is from the North Sea, from Germany, which I visited last month. And how do you actually put it on the slide here? Okay, so I'm gonna show you this first, and it's actually quite easy, but I'm going to clean away everything. By the way, some instant coffee, some cork, an ammonite, tissue paper, a dead little insect that I found here. Ah, yes, a stamp, a postage stamp with the Queen. Okay, yes, because she passed away. I decided, okay, why not put the Queen under the microscope as well? Yeah, and how do you now make a slide like this? And what you need is you need a sheet of paper. That's pretty important. Okay, and this sheet of paper will be placed here. Okay, and of course you need a microscope slide. Yeah, and you need a second microscope slide. Okay, yeah, so that's my second one. I just made this ring with nail polish here, and ignore that, because I'll be throwing the slide away here. So when I want to put sand on a slide, what you need is you need a little bit of glue. Okay, so I'm going to be using again this Elmer's transparent glue, where basically, which I already talked about before, and you put a little drop of this glue on here. Okay, and you use the second slide, or you can use a cover glass if you want to, or maybe even your fingers, but I'm just using this here, and you just spread it apart a little bit. Okay, just spread it apart a little bit, and then all you do is you take the sand and you dump the sand. I need to move over a little bit here. You dump the sand directly over the glue. Okay, and you let it dry. Okay, maybe you want to press a little bit. Yeah, and you see that. Here is the sand. That's all I've done. And the advantage here is the following: that you have a very thin layer of sand, and that it's very flat. Okay, I'm not going to put this one now under the microscope because it's not dry yet, but I'm going to use the other one. So I'm going to put this one away here. And then, of course, the paper here, what you do is you just fold it Yeah. And then it can go back again into the container. Okay. So, and so the first thing that I'll be doing now is I'll be putting now this slide under the microscope. Okay. So I'll be switching the scene now, and I'm going to now turn on the top light. Okay. And now here, with the low power objective, I put the slide under the microscope here. And of course, I also have to focus. Okay. And see, here we go. Okay. It looks like it's almost like in a stereo microscope. Yeah, of course, you do not get a three-dimensional view, but this is now using the low power 4x objective. And you see that it looks quite nice, like under a stereo microscope. So, and I want to also show you now in comparison how it would look like if I just have the light coming from the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to switch off the light here, and I'm going to turn on the microscope light now. Yeah, and you're going to see that this is how it looks like. Flip out the condenser. Yeah, I like the light from the top better. Okay, you can actually see that some of the sand grains, which are a little bit darker or thicker, they're completely black, and you do not see quite as much detail. It looks kind of flat. And if I go up with the magnification now, yeah, that's basically how it looks like. Yeah, and now with light coming from the top, so I'm going to switch off this here again. I'm going to switch on again the. Yeah, maybe a slightly higher power. Okay, no, okay, that's enough. You can see that actually it looks a little bit more natural. Yeah. So this is indeed something that you might also want to try out. That's actually why I'm showing it to you. So today I'm not going to do any complicated, anything complicated. I just want to show it to you to motivate you a little bit, maybe also to try this out, because that's actually a way that we normally do not use compound microscopes. Okay, but that is essentially the sand from the top, and you can also see that by focusing, you see also that if you use the low power objective, then the depth of field in most cases is large enough that you're actually getting most of it in focus. You see that there is of course also some dust here. The problem, so that's now the 10 times objective. Now if I go up to the 20 times objective, then of course we're losing more and more light. The depth of field goes down, obviously, as well. But then we also have another problem. The higher you go up with the magnification, the darker the image becomes, obviously. Okay. I would not dare now to go up yet more, because then the working distance, the distance between the objective and the specimen is too low, and I might get some of the sand on the objective. I don't want that. But essentially, if you stay with the low powers, I think you'll be fine. So that is the 4 times objective, and we can see that this is actually quite nice. Okay, so if you do not want to make a slide like this, there is of course another way, a much faster and easier way. So what you do is that's a different sand now. Okay, that's this. I mean, you see that the sand is kind of the sand grains here are a little bit larger, but that's of course also possible. You just take this and put it under the microscope as it is. I'm going to do the following here. Just take it away. And when I put this one directly under the microscope like this, then this of course also works. See that some of the sand grains are still together, they're stuck together because the sand was a little bit wet and moist, and therefore it's stuck together. I've already seen, I already see a few comments. Okay. Yeah, hi. I wanted to buy a DIC microscope, but even used ones are $2,000. I decided to buy parts and build one. Do I need to get matching prisms and objectives, or can I buy from different companies? No, you need, this must be matching. DIC is differential interference contrast, and that's expensive. I know. What you need is you need polarizing, you need so-called Wollaston prisms, and so on. But what people have done is they have put together their own DIC microscope using used parts from one system. So I've known a person who assembled his own DIC microscopes from parts from Olympus, for example. Yeah, so if you gotta stay with one company, and then you have gotta go and shop on eBay and until you get all of the parts together. Okay, but you have otherwise the parts are not compatible with each other. You might not be able to fit them together. Okay, what kind of light source are you using? This is a completely standard, simple flashlight, a rechargeable flashlight. So I'm going to turn this. Okay, it's a flashlight, and I simply mounted it on a microphone stand. I've chosen this flashlight over here because it's fairly bright, yeah, and it gives a relatively even illumination, yeah, and that's it. It's really a normal LED flashlight, yeah. Yeah, I can recharge it on a charger, but so I would say that pretty much any flashlight will do. I've also used desk lamps. There have been I once had a desk lamp with a swan neck. What's a swan neck? I'm just going to show you. That's actually also from a microphone stand, okay? But it was kind of, yeah, a desk lamp that was flexible like this, yeah, and then there was a lamp here, and then I could actually adjust it like this, that it was actually shining directly on the stage. Yeah, so that's actually, I would say that's probably the more convenient way of getting yourself a powerful LED desk lamp that's kind of flexible. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show you, that you can put it directly also under the microscope like this. Let's go back a little bit again to the desk view. Yeah. So you do not have to make slides, obviously, but I'm always a little bit careful when using sand because I don't want to spill the sand over the microscope, obviously. Yeah. So this was basically the sand, but look what I've got here. This here is instant coffee. And yeah, I saw some interesting white stuff on this instant coffee. By the way, I'm in the process of making a video of this, but I just wanted to put this instant coffee now directly also under the microscope. And let's have a look at this strange white stuff that's on here. Okay. I was actually a little bit surprised when I saw that. Okay, it is now a little bit dark, I can see, so I'm going to put it down like this, and you see there's this, it's very dark. Okay, so maybe I have to increase the light a little bit here. Okay, so my flashlight has two intensities, and look at this. These are the grains of the instant coffee, and there is this weird white stuff on here, and when I saw it the first time, I thought that my coffee got moldy. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is not mold. And I could not believe this myself. When I actually discovered what this is, I said, this is not possible. You won't guess. This coffee crystals, yeah, but what? It's caffeine. This is caffeine. These are caffeine crystals, and I suppose the following is that because I did not completely close the coffee and it was a little bit old, so maybe the moisture kind of soaked in, and this is why caffeine crystals started to deposit. And why do I think that it's caffeine? Because I actually have pure caffeine, and I crystallized it out, and the crystals look the same. And as a matter of fact, when I put this under the microscope, I could not see any cells, and the crystals disappeared, and then it recrystallized. Yeah, so I'm going to make a video on this on my other channel, where I report back on this. But this is something that I kind of considered a little bit fascinating, yeah, because I would not be able to see it like this with light coming from the bottom, because the coffee grains and the instant coffee is too dark. Okay, yeah, so that is wow, very interesting. I've never seen caffeine crystals before. You can buy caffeine capsules. And then crystallize it out yourself. Yeah, that's the easy way. And that's basically, I use those caffeine crystal capsules as a reference. But for me, this is also the first time that I saw this, because I couldn't believe this myself. Yeah? So I'm quite certain that this must be caffeine. I could not imagine anything else. Yeah, the crystals kind of look the same. Yeah. So yeah, as a coffee addict, I'm looking forward to that video. Yes, yeah, they actually look quite nice under polarized light. Yeah. So what I've done is I've taken a little bit of this instant coffee, of course, put water into it, and then the white fuzzy stuff disappeared. And if it were cells like fungus, mold, then of course I should be able to see the cells and the spores. Nothing like that. It disappeared, and I scratched off some of this white fuzzy stuff, and I could see it dissolve under the microscope and then recrystallize. So these are, yeah, it's, yeah. So that's, I just wanted to show you that it's quite nice and quite easy to actually, yeah, to observe it. So if I move this around a little bit. So I also want to show you something else, just so that you have seen it, but unfortunately, I could not connect it to my computer. If you want to look what I've got here, so this here is also a so-called a USB microscope. Actually, it's not a real microscope. Well, it isn't. Well, yeah, it's called a microscope, but actually what it is it contains a lens here, and then you're able to put it over certain objects. There are LEDs here, and then you are able to get a picture into the computer, and then you can also see it. I wanted to actually show this to you, but I couldn't for whatever reason. On my USB hub here, it didn't connect, so I suppose maybe because I've already too many things connected. But I just wanted to tell you that that's also a way of actually getting a very similar image. Okay, so yeah, that's also a possibility. Yeah. So I just want to move on a little bit to show you a few more things. Okay. Yeah, something that I didn't expect either. This here is a cloth used for cleaning glasses, and I use this also for cleaning microscope slides. It's a microfiber cloth, and yeah, you can also put this directly under the microscope simply by folding it together and putting it here. But just a second, you're not seeing this yet. Okay, yeah, and of course you have to refocus a little bit and find it. Okay, that's one of the problems if the thickness is not right, or maybe it's too bright. Okay. See, the contrast is a little bit low, and actually I wanted to show this to you now. Here we go. Okay, yeah. You can see the surface texture, yeah, and all of the dust and the dirt, yeah, that is found on the microfiber cloth. Yeah. Again, I've chosen those objects because they're relatively flat. And therefore they're easy to observe because of the low depth of field of a microscope. Yeah, if they're flat, then most of the parts of the object are in focus at the same time. Yeah. So before I show you the rest, I want to simply show you a little bit a commercially prepared microscope slide with a transparent object, and I want to show you why it doesn't work. Okay. And then I'm going to show you a short workaround. This one over here is one of my favorite. Just a second, switching back again. One of my favorite objects. It's a flea of a dog. Okay, so it's an insect, and yeah, as it is. So they simply mounted this. It's a commercial slide, and when I'm going to show you now how it looks like with light coming from the bottom. Okay, just the regular appearance. So again, off. I put it in now. I'm going to switch again over to the microscope so that you see a comparison and why top illumination is not always possible. Okay, so I have to find it again. Of course, I have to refocus again because I just had the cloth in there. So see, I'm not looking through the microscope right now. Therefore, it's a little bit difficult for me to find this. Here we go. And it's too bright. Okay. Okay. So yes, here we go. Okay. So okay, so that's basically the flea. Maybe you've already seen it before. It's one of my favorite specimens with light coming from the bottom. Okay. Now, how would the flea look like with light coming from the top? And I'm going to show you it doesn't work because the flea is too transparent. It was probably bleached. and cleared. So that means that the light is able to go through. So that's why we're able to see that, we're able to see through the flea. It's not completely black. It's kind of brownish, right? And this means the flea, this insect, is a little bit transparent. And this is a problem when you have light coming from the top, because then you're not able to see it. Just want to show this to you now. See, everything is in focus now, okay? So I don't have to touch it. I'm going to turn off the light, and I'm going to turn the light on from the top, okay? And this is what I see. I don't see anything, yeah? This basically shows to you that, not all specimens obviously are suitable, and you have to make sure that you have an opaque specimen. Now, why am I saying this? Because I recently got an email from someone who asked me, he wanted to build his own microscope for whatever reason and for research and so on. And he said, well, he has got some problems fitting a light source beneath the specimen. Can you not just have the light coming from the top? And I said, no, this doesn't work. Be careful, because if the specimen is transparent, you're not going to see anything. Okay, so this is a little bit the issue, which kind of shows that you have to kind of choose the correct lighting system with the specimen. I'm going to show you now a little trick. Okay, look what I'm doing. I'm taking now a sheet of paper and putting the sheet of paper beneath the. I'm going to use a larger sheet of paper here. I'm going to put a sheet of paper now beneath the slide, if I manage to do that. Okay, just a second. This takes me a little bit of patience now, because, and all of a sudden, let's put in paper first. Okay, and let's also, see, that's not good, so here we go. Okay. It's not centered. And all of a sudden, I need to refocus. There's the same thing just with paper. It looks pretty much the same. Now it works. What happens? Well, essentially the paper reflects the light. So it's again light coming from the bottom. Okay, it's just like before. Yeah. So you see that it's simply a demonstration that certain specimens must have light coming from the bottom. Okay. Yeah. So this is just a short demonstration here. Yeah. And then you see, if you take it away, it's dark again. Yeah? So let's move on to a few other things here. Okay. And notice that I'm always staying with a low power. By the way, stereo microscopes, maybe I just also wanted to add this, stereo microscopes that you can get these days, what they have is generally they have a maximum magnification of 40 times. There are some that go higher, but 40 times, and basically this is the magnification that we have here. Yeah? So, I showed you the sand already. I showed you this. Okay, look what I have over here. I have over here a little insect that I found on my window. So I need to change over again. I'm always forgetting that. So there's a little, looks like a little butterfly. And this is how it looks like. Okay. So that's one of those typical examples of a specimen that needs top illumination. I don't know what, probably antenna here. Yeah, this one here is the head, and over here the wing. And because the slide is illuminated from the side, there are shadows, and this increases a little bit this feeling of depth. Yeah. So there is now a question here. Isn't that flea not just the exoskeleton left after bleaching? No, it's not just the exoskeleton. It actually contains also, you can, if you zoom in, you can actually see also the muscles. Okay, so yeah, sure, there are certain specimens that contain exoskeletons only, maybe, but this one seems to be a pretty complete one. Of course, because it's dry and dehydrated, maybe some of the organs have shrunk. But if you zoom in, you can actually see the so-called striations of the muscles. So there are still muscles present in there. Yeah? Is it possible to make polarized light in top light microscopy? Haha. Of course, you can shine polarized light on a specimen, but when it hits the specimen, the light which is polarized bounces off in all directions again. It depolarizes. Okay, so I don't think that you're going to see a certain effect. Yeah. So this is a little bit the thing. So for example, when you have polarizing sunglasses, what they do is when you look at a non-metallic reflection, like for example water, like the sun reflecting off water, that's a non-metallic reflection. And the polarizing sunglasses, they are able to remove that reflection so that you're not blinded as much. Yeah, but all other so you have to actually look at reflections. But many objects, like for example this insect over here, is opaque. So it's not really, it kind of diffuses the light. The light is not reflected in the same way like in a non-metallic reflection, but when the light is bounces off, it's kind of depolarized. So I think that if you use polarized light, shining it on an object, you won't really get an effect. That's my assumption here. Yeah. So I guess again you have to then use an object that reflects the light in a polarized way, in a non-metallic way, and then probably you're going to see an effect. Okay. So what else do I have here? I'm looking at the clock always. It's about half an hour here. Let's put the queen under the microscope. How is that? Okay. So what I have over here is a stamp. I used to collect stamps some time ago, and I don't even know from what year it is, but I simply picked it up, and because I think it's also interesting. Also money, for example, looks quite interesting, so I've got a coin here as well. But when you put the stamp under the micro, you know what I'm gonna do? This is not a good way of doing this. Just a second, I need to switch over again. Yeah, so I'm going to use I would say I'm just gonna put a blank slide. I'm gonna put it on a blank slide, because then I can actually move it around much more easily. Okay. And yeah, it's the stamp is now right side up. Yeah, and then you can see actually the print, and here the eye upside down, the eyes of the queen of the stamp. Would the sand also diffuse the light? It's after all crystalline in structure. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I can imagine that especially if you use quartz or some kind of clearer things, that the light that goes in maybe bounces off around inside the sand, and then it maybe goes out. So that would be an interesting thing. It can imagine that maybe by using a polarized top light, maybe if you shine it on crystals, that there is an effect. Something that I actually might want to try out. Yeah, shouldn't be so difficult, because all you have to do is you have to take a polarization filter and put it over here. Yeah. Yes. So, okay. Yeah. By the way, in case you're kind of wondering, some of you might have noticed that the glasses are a little bit different, and I have the glasses down here right now. The reason is because a few days ago I got contact lenses, and these are reading glasses. So that means when I want to look in the computer screen, for example, or down on my desk, then have to look through those glasses. So that's a little bit just a short explanation of why I'm going back and forth like this. Yeah. So stamps. You can also see, and one of the things that I kind of noticed here is that you can actually see that the print or the ink of the stamp actually is higher than the paper. Yeah. So also here, this is now, let's see if we can see the edge here. Yeah, that's the edge of the stamp. You see that the paper is fiber. So what is polarized light? This was also a question. Okay, short explanation. Maybe I switch over back to over here. When you have a regular, when you look at light waves, then you can actually see that the light waves, they can go like this, and then some light waves go up like this, so they can be in all different planes. Okay. A light wave can go like this, the other one goes like this, and the next one goes diagonal. Yeah. So the individual photons have all an orientation. In polarized light, what happens is that you only have light going in one plane. Yeah. And yeah, so this is yeah, and then when you have a filter that is a kind of yeah, there are certain polarization filters that only allow polarized lights to go through, and then when you change it over, then the light is not able to go through. Yeah, and some substances also are able to polarize the light, and they're interacting. For example, crystals are a typical example here. They're interacting with this light. Yeah, so this is yeah. So that's this was basically the queen or the stamp, yeah, under the microscope. Yeah, so you see the print here. Again, opaque objects. I don't have to make this or show you when I turn on the light from the bottom. Yeah, yeah. Then it will look quite different here, much flatter. But here I have to turn it up quite a bit because now light is able to go through the paper. Yeah. So that's now with light coming from the bottom. Yeah. But of course we do not see the surface texture quite as well. It looks a little bit flat. Yeah, turn it off again, turn on the lamp, and you can actually see the print. Yeah. Ah, okay, does it change the light effect on the specimen? Well, for example, when you have polarized light, you know what, I think I'm going to make a separate, it's actually a good point. So thank you for those comments. Maybe next time I'm going to talk a little bit about polarized light microscopy. I'm going to maybe talk about crystals and show you how you can make your own crystals and use polarized light, you know, at home, okay? Because it's actually quite cheap. Yeah? But essentially, if the specimen is optically active, so to say, that's what it's called, then it's able to interact in a specific way with a polarized light, and you get special effects, color effects. Yeah, and certain crystals don't do that. Like for example, salt crystals, of table salt, they're not optically active, and when you put polarized light through them, then there is no effect. But caffeine is one of those examples that has, yeah, it's optically active, and therefore you get nice colors. Yeah, so yeah, so that's basically the thing here. So let's have a look at a few other things here. So I'm going to carefully remove the stamp again. Up. Here it is, and I don't know, let's have a look at the coin here, okay? So, but actually that's a good point with polarized light. I'm always happy for suggestions, because the most difficult thing about these live streams is thinking of a topic, because I don't know what people are interested in. And yeah, so that's basically the coin. Yeah. And you see all of the scratches, and the coins are, I would say, always good specimens because, or money is good because it's reflective, okay? And you can therefore, yeah, see it quite well. Quite a lot of scratches on the coin here. Yeah. It's a 20 euro cent coin. Yeah. So it's copper. Yeah, I think you get the idea here. Yeah. So why am I doing this type of video on this topic? Well, because in the microscopy community, of course, many people have yeah, they want to observe these things, and they say, okay, I need to get a stereo microscope, obviously. And under a stereo microscope, make no mistake, it looks even better because you actually see it three-dimensionally. So under a stereo microscope, you're actually going to see the different textures actually go up, like you can almost touch it, okay? So it's much more immersive. But yeah, just for playing around a little bit and for observing certain specimens, this is also, I think, a viable setup. I want to also tell you another thing that you might want to try out, and that is you can actually do so-called image stacking this way. So what this basically means is that, especially for thicker specimens, not everything is in focus at the same time. So this one actually is quite nice because the top part of the coin and also the bottom part is kind of more or less in focus at the same time. It's just borderline. But if you go up with a magnification, for example, like right now, and yeah, it's a little bit dark, I have to tell you, but you should be still able to see it here. You see right now the bottom part of the coin is in focus, okay? And the top part, which kind of stands out, is blurry. And now when I turn, now the top part is in focus and the bottom one is out of focus. And what you can do is you can now take pictures of both of them, and then using so-called stacking software, you can combine it into a picture which is completely in focus. So the software will take those parts of the images that are in focus only and combine them together. And this is something that you can definitely do. Yeah, I actually, the other day I made a video on, where I showed you how to do this with a free software. However, there is even here an advantage compared to stereo microscopes, which I want to tell you. And that is the following, that over here, you when I focus and when I raise the stage up and down, like I'm doing right now, okay? Because the stage is in the same axis as the objective, there is no horizontal shift. Because in a stereo microscope, what you have is the following. You have two objectives, one for the left eye, one for the right eye, and they're arranged in an angle, in a slight angle. And when you focus, then it goes down like this, up and down, yeah. But the axis is in the center. And this basically means that when you focus using a stereo microscope and when you take a picture through one of the objectives, then there's also a horizontal shift, yeah, which you don't have here. And the software has to take this away. So actually, I think yeah, I got pretty good results also by stacking with a compound microscope this way. Yeah. So I just want to tell you that that this is actually maybe an advantage. You know, the software has an easier time to stack images that are where the axis is there where the objective is. Yeah. So that is basically, I'm using here now the 10 times objective, but I'm going to go back to the 4 times over here. Okay. So anything else I want to show you? Let me see. Okay, this was the coin. I have an ammonite here. This one is yeah. I don't know where I got it from. I bought it somewhere as a souvenir. Nothing special really, but it's simply, if you want to observe the surface over here, then you can do this as well. This is always, you just basically put it directly on the slide, and then of course I have to lower it until it goes into focus. Okay, and then you can observe the surface structure and texture. Okay, I mean, that's one of those examples where you see that not everything is in focus at the same time because the specimen is slanted. Okay, and therefore this would be a classical example of doing some stacking. So you kind of take, I don't know, 10 pictures of a different focus, and then you combine them into one. So there are plenty of things for hobby microscopists to play around with. You see also over here. Yeah, this one here is not in focus, and another part is not in focus. And the light coming from the side actually increases this the sense of depth because of the shadows. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. Yeah, because you actually feel like there's depth there. Yeah, and you can estimate it a little bit better if things go up or down. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the ammonite. Up. But again, one always has to be careful when doing these things so that you don't damage the objectives. Well, okay, over here a little bit of tissue paper. Just also gonna put this in here. I think it's also kind of fascinating. Okay, to look at tissue paper. I don't have this here. It's really cool. I'm just gonna tell you what you can try is the following. You put tissue paper under the microscope and then you put some ink on it, and you can actually see the ink being soaked in. So these are basically the fibers, the cellulose fibers of tissue, of paper. And that actually makes it absorbent because the water travels along those fibers, and it's absorbed this way, and therefore, of course, tissue paper is absorbing. So 4 times, go up to 10 times here. Yeah. Plenty of things to experiment around with. So another thing I just wanted to show you, but I mean, you get the point. This old dry leaf. Yeah. These are all objects that we could not directly observe so easily with light coming from the bottom. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay. And maybe as a last thing here, a piece of cork. I have not tried this one yet directly, so I don't know if I'm able to fit it on here. If the focus range is large enough. I don't know. Ah, here it is. Yeah. Oh, it's kind of boring. Not so interesting. Yeah. Here with cork, actually, I do recommend that you make very thin slices. It's easy to cut, and then just observe it with light coming from the bottom. That's what Robert Hooke did back in the 1700s, and then he was able to see the individual cells. Yeah. So that's these were all my specimens that I had, honestly. Okay. Just wanted to kind of motivate you a little bit to try out these type of things here as well. Yeah. Do you have any questions or any comments? How does this work with the with the comments up here? I hope they're readable. I was a little bit worried that maybe the text is too small or not readable, but I think it seems to work out. Okay. Yeah. So, any questions, anyone, or any comments, or any requests, or that anything that you want me to put under the microscope? Well, if you have, then you can always, you can always write it in the comments section, and then I'll do whatever is necessary to make it possible. But I think the question and the comment about polarized light is quite nice. And unfortunately, I don't have any slides here right now. Otherwise, I could have showed it to you. But I'm gonna make a separate. Live stream or video concerning this. Yeah. So I'm going to defer buying a stereo microscope for now. I'm going to try this first. Yeah. I think that's actually one of get yourself a stereo microscope in any case. The reason being because simply seeing things stereoscopically, already that is quite impressive. But this also works pretty well. You see, and for this reason, I just wanted to share this with you as well. And if you really want to, and this is really a pity that I couldn't get it to work on my USB port here, but this one over here, I think it was only a couple of years. I got it from China. I think on €7 or something, or $7 really cheap. And the much better ones, but for playing around, this actually is also quite fun. Okay, maybe mention the option. Okay, a couple of questions more. How can I find bacteria? That's a huge topic. Bacteria. I can also do that. Maybe mention the option to do incident lighting with a nose piece that accepts light from the top. I have it for my lights and it's fantastic. The objective shines the light on the subject. Yes. Okay, that's a good point. Thank you. I need to comment on this. There are so-called material sciences microscopes, or so-called metallurgical microscopes, and those microscopes are designed specifically to look at objects like these at high magnification. Opaque objects at high magnification, higher than, for example, stereo microscopes. And you need to have light coming in from the top. And what these microscopes have is they have objectives that have a separate light path, where the light comes through the objective, okay, on the specimen, and then the light which is reflected is picked up again by the same objective, but it's a different light path, okay, by the center of the objective. And these are special so-called metallurgical microscopes, and they allow you to look at opaque objects at high magnifications. Okay, and that's also one where you have light coming from the top, but the light goes through the objective itself. Okay, thank you for the comment. So I need to put up my glasses here so that I can read the comments here. I have recently noticed a weird amoeba with spikes. I have read that amoeba can become spiky when they are detached from a substrate. There are so many amoeba out there. Yes, there are some amoeba who have shells called testate amoeba where there are spikes here. Yeah. I had one like these. It didn't really work for me. Now, I don't know which question this refers to. Probably the one with the light coming from top. I used a stereo microscope for observing the pollen sacs of different flowers, and it does it very well. Yes, that's also quite nice. Pollen are also quite nice to observe. I meant amoeba. And is it possible to see stomata in the underside of a fresh leaf? Yes, it is possible. I was actually thinking of it differently. I don't know if you're able to see. I did not try it. If it's possible to see the stomata directly on a leaf, on a fresh leaf, I have to try that. What is possible? I mean, it could. That's a good question. I don't know. I've not tried this. Okay. It might be a magnification issue as well, because this is only 4 times, 10 times. But it should be possible. I have to try this. Okay. Yeah, and like these USB microscopes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the comment was on the USB microscopes that it didn't quite work for the purposes here. Yeah. If you take a thin slice from the epidermis of the leaf, you're definitely able to see the stomates. Okay, stomates are openings. Maybe I should explain this. This is a bad example here because the leaf is dry. But on the bottom side of a leaf, there are little openings. And those openings are there so that the oxygen can go out and carbon dioxide can go in for photosynthesis. And these openings can be made visible. And that's maybe, again, a topic for another live stream, by putting glue on the leaf, allowing the glue to dry and then peeling it off. So what you're getting is you're getting the surface texture of the leaf, and then you put the glue under the microscope. You can see the stomates really well this way. Yeah? Then you don't need to slice it. But the question is now, is if you put a complete leaf directly under the microscope, are you also able to see that? And I don't know, because I simply have to try this out. Yeah? So this is something that I might experiment around as well. Yeah? I mean, I can put this leaf again under the microscope. It's a dry one, so I don't have very high expectations here. Yeah, so, and let's see. This is now a little bit in the shadow, and I never know into which direction I have to turn it. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, what you see over here, of course, is you see that the vascular bundles in the vascular tissue, but because the cells are so close together, it's not possible to see the cells as separate, because the cell walls are all sticking together. Yeah, maybe those little. It looks a little bit like a sponge. Okay, so those they seem to be the cell walls of adjacent cells. Yeah. So the glue experiment sounds fun. I hope you make a stomata video one day. As a matter of fact, I already did a few years ago. So if you check my other channel, and then you can actually find a video where I put, I think I made even 2 videos where I actually already have done this before. So you take some glue, some regular wood glue works, or pretty much any type of glue works, and then you put it on the underside of a leaf, you allow it to dry, and you peel it off, and then you're able to see quite a bit. Make sure that the leaf's underside is relatively smooth. Some leaves are pretty hairy and fuzzy, and then of course it doesn't work quite as well. Yeah, I have a weird idea of putting a macrophage into a pond water sample and look at it eat microbes. I think it would be interesting. I have another idea, something that I want to try out. Because I've seen somewhere some researchers do that, and what they've done is they've placed some, I don't know, was it a tiny worm or something, into a blood sample of a human on the slide, and then they did a time lapse, and they actually were able to show how all of the white blood cells started to rush to that worm and try to attack it. Okay. I've made videos in my other channel again where time-lapse videos where you can see white blood cells move around on the microscope slide. So it's not surprising. I tried to do that, but the problem is that my slide dried up before I was able to see anything here. Yeah, but apparently it does work. Yeah, so you can put blood samples on the slide, and then you watch the white blood cells apparently attack whatever they find. Yeah. So there was also a question about bacteria. How can you see bacteria? Well, let's put it this way. Some people want to grow bacteria. I'm not so much encouraging that. because you don't know what you're growing unless the bacteria are edible. So that means that you can eat them. How can you know that you eat them? By actually getting yogurt bacteria. You can get freeze-dried yogurt bacteria online, Amazon, yeah, or you simply take yogurt, and then you're able to see those bacteria. Yeah, and that is actually a recommended way, because when I, for example, do microscopy with students, I have to look at safety. Yeah, and then you have to use a safe source of bacteria. Yeah, okay. Have you tried to raise or feed Hydra? Of course, I have been feeding Hydra before. I made videos on this, but I had problems actually multiplying them. I have to be honest with you. I got the Hydra from a working colleague from work who has got aquariums, and he said that the Hydra are sometimes a real problem because they multiply so quickly. Yeah, they reproduce so quickly. But you have Hydra are very hungry, and you have to feed them with water fleas and so on a very regular basis. Yeah, but I've made videos of this already, and it's very fascinating to see how the Hydra actually is able to catch water fleas. Yeah. Why are some objectives priced in the $800 to $900 price range used on eBay? It's an interesting one. Yep, let me switch this off here a little bit. So the questions are now deviating a little bit from the top microscope light, and that's fine. So I'll be answering a few questions now. When you go shopping for microscope objectives, you're going to see that the price range can be incredible. So from very cheap to thousands of euros or dollars. Why is that? Even used ones. Well, first of all, if a microscope objective has been well taken care of, then it won't age. Okay, that's number one. Yeah. So, if, for example, if I'm now a research organization, let's say, or university, and I have a very expensive microscope, brand microscope, I've had it for many years, let's say for 15 years, 20 years. And I need to upgrade this microscope. It can be that maybe the company does not have the system available anymore. This could be, yeah. And then I need to buy a used, I have to go to the used market. Basically the objectives are still good, and then you can charge almost anything because I have to buy it because I need it from a research. Right, so this is something that you can not only see with microscopes, but honestly with pretty much any type of thing where there's a new model coming out. I don't know if all of you know Lego. They've changed a Lego system, so you cannot get the old motors of Lego, of the toy Lego anymore, and the old motors now are sold used, much more expensive. Yeah, because people now need those because they have become rare. So that is one reason, okay? And another reason is that some of those microscope objectives are really highly specialized. Yeah? In what they're able to do. So they're not mass market produced, and therefore they're expensive. And people who need them for research, companies, whatever, they're willing to pay for that. And I tell you, $800 to $900 is not expensive. Okay, there are microscope objectives that cost thousands. Yeah, so that's a thing. So it's a price politics to a certain extent. Yeah, yeah. So Hydra are like fish. Well, yeah, they like to hunt. I made a slide holder with a false bottom, so I can easily clean up 32 slides. In water. That's an interesting one. Maybe you want to share this a little bit. Yeah. And there was a question: is how did you make it? Okay, I'd also be interested in doing that. I have about cleaning slides. I want it because sometimes if the slides are not too dirty, I want to clean them, and I decided, okay, maybe I'm going to put them into my dishwasher. And so what I've done some time ago, I've 3D printed a slide rack to hold slides, so I can put the slide rack with the slides into the dishwasher. I 3D printed it, and the consequence was that the rack came out all bent and crooked because, of course, of the heat of the dishwasher, it was bent. Yeah, so unfortunately, it did not work. Yeah. Besides your channel, I like Journey to the Microcosmos, and I don't know this the other one here. Do you have any other suggestions you like? Well, I have a couple of microbes and where to find them. Okay, that's another one. It's another YouTuber there. You know what? I'm gonna make a list of microscopy YouTube channels because if you subscribe to them, and fantastic microbes and where to find them. That's how it's called. Yeah, and there are some other YouTube channels. And if we have a little community here, and when we subscribe to each other's channels, I think this is quite supportive. Yeah, I'm from India. My 9-year-old daughter is your fan. Thank you very much. She's asleep now, but hello from her. Thank you. Thanks for bringing curiosity in her towards the micro world. Yep, I'm very happy if I'm able to, create a little bit of curiosity. I want to tell you a story, last story before I stop. Something that happened a few weeks ago. Also dealing with children. And my nephew visited me about 3 weeks ago, and also my sister-in-law came. And of course, he wanted to look through the microscope. So I said, yeah, great, no problem, come here. And I showed them some of those commercial microscope slides. And big mistake. There was, of course, I showed them the slide of the flea here, right, which I showed you before. Why a mistake? Because many of those slides here are too abstract. For example, this one here is an onion cross section. Very abstract, very two-dimensional. And so my sister-in-law then says, but those slides, they all look the same. I mean, if you look, for example, there was a slide cat, the eye of a cat. But it was, the tissue, and you, of course, you could not see an eye. It was just a small section of the different cells, and so there was actually quite a bit of a big disappointment. So my suggestion is that if you do microscopy with children, maybe actually look at things of the everyday world that are not so abstract. Just put, I don't know, your fingers under the microscope and then watch the dirt on the fingers, right? And this is something where I made a little mistake where I said maybe I should have showed him some more interesting things. I don't know, some moving organisms, some worms or so, that where there's some movement going on. Yeah. So this is a recommendation that I have if you want to do microscopy with children, that you pick specimens where children can identify with. Yeah. So. Bart, I think Microbehunter has a kind of a video you look for. Exactly. I've got the other channel where I've got 157 videos or so. Sometimes I don't know exactly when I made a video, so you have to kind of go through the history of the videos to find it. Yeah. If possible, please say hello, Anya. Yes, hello, Anya. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Okay. Yes. Of course, I'm sub, but thanks for the heads up. Okay. Yeah. Almost 1 hour again. If you have any specific requests, of course you can comment and write it into the comments section. Otherwise, I'll basically do the following. Maybe next week, I might do then a little bit of polarization microscopy. Why not? I'm going to show you how to look at some of the crystals under polarized light. Okay, and hope that this is also going to inspire you next week then. I'm going to leave it at that. The hour is almost finished again. I will, if you don't know yet, if you're kind of new and accidentally stumbled over this channel, I do have a main channel called simply Microbehunter, okay, where I'm posting a video pretty much once every week. It's not quite so long, the videos, but so you'll find also a lot of inspiration there in case you don't know yet about the other channel. Yeah. So just the last few comments. Thank you for the tips. I just bought a VTG German scope. I love it. Thank you for the channel as always. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the comments. And see you around again. And wish you a nice week. And bye bye. All the best. Happy microbe hunting. Bye.